Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are so very happy to have with us here today Jessica Earnshaw, the director of Jacinta, a great documentary coming up on Hulu here on the 8th, if I recall. Jessica, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. I watched your film this morning, and I got to tell you, it really hit me really hard. It's a hard hitting film, and it's a hard film to watch. Would you agree that that is something you've heard?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. See, now. Did you want to tell them a little bit about what it's about without giving too much away? That way they can understand where I'm coming from when I tell them that this thing hits like a ton of bricks.
Okay. Yeah. It's so I met a mother and daughter incarcerated together, and I followed the family for about 3.5 years. Um, and yeah, I followed Jacinta as the lead character, and through her addiction and incarceration, and her family and the love in her family, and it's about intergenerational trauma. And yeah, sorry, that's vague, but maybe too vague. I don't know.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a great answer because I think it gets to the crux of it. What was it like following somebody for that long, especially someone who was having the difficulties in life that both Jacinta and her mother were having?
Um, it was, um, I loved it in certain, well, I don't know. I loved filming Jacinta and Rosemary and the family because I just really became quite fond of them. But it was very difficult filming, for all the reasons that you said it was difficult to watch. It was a pretty tough time in Jacinta's journey. And yeah, so for those reasons it was definitely challenging personally to film to yeah.
I would imagine that there were some harrowing experiences given the conditions of particularly the beginning and middle of the film where you were shooting. And I didn't expect that coming since the film shot in Maine. I didn't think that there was that side of Maine. You know what I mean? But I guess it's everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that was something I learned pretty quick, like just spending so much time in that prison that I first met Jacinta in, just that how the story is just not unique as far as like families going through this, and women like Jacinta who have this kind of intergenerational trauma in their families, and how addiction can kind of pass through as well. Yeah, and I mean, for me, my experience in Maine was only that. So I hadn't been to Maine prior to working on this project.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Actually, let me go into that because this is your directorial debut. Yes, Jessica.
Yes.
Yeah, and what you chose the hardest genre of film to make for a directorial debut. You went with a documentary. That is a bold move. I have to commend you for that. There's nothing
Thank
easy
you.
about that. Now, did you have any sort of insight into the editing as well?
Yeah, yeah. I worked very closely with our editor, George O'Donnell, who's incredible. But yeah, we worked very closely on the edit.
I was going to say I wanted to talk to you about that because like there seems to
Sure.
be certain shots in the film that are overlaid over the speaking, and I
Hmm.
feel like it really helped the impact and like a sledgehammer to the gut in certain points. And
Hmm.
I was going to ask you, was that done on purpose? That's just a brilliance of editing. Was that something you wanted to do on purpose, or was that all your editor?
That was, we talked a lot about that because, from the very beginning, I didn't want to do a documentary that was too many talking heads. Like I wanted it to, and so did George. Like we wanted to really, it's like kind of like a psychological journey for Jacinta. And I had conducted so many interviews with her, like hundreds of hours of interviews in the prison. And I knew like what her hopes and dreams were. She was so like vocal with me. And so, yeah, it was really important that we brought her point of view into her experience. And so, because definitely didn't want sitting down interviews, I wanted it to be her psychological journey. That's why we did that. But yeah, that was a decision we made very early on.
I like it. I thought it really
Yeah.
helped and was really effective. Now, we talked about your film, and like I said, I don't want to get into too many details because I really want people to watch the film on Hulu when it comes out. Let's talk
Yeah.
about you a little bit. As you've been in the business a little bit now, you've had some credits under your belt. Obviously, this is your first one behind the camera, but who are some people in the business, whether they be directors, actors, producers, that inspire you to keep doing what you do and to make your projects better?
That's a great question. I mean, I love documentaries. I'm just constantly watching them. I mean, there's so many documentaries out right now that I mean, I in the last couple weeks I haven't been watching that many actually just because of um uh time, but I um I don't know, so many people. I loved Minding the Gap, Bing's film. I loved Welcome to Chechnya. Um, so many. I don't know. There's too many to list. But prior to this, I was working as a photojournalist, documentary photographer, and so I was really inspired at the time, with photographers and really embedding with subjects and really telling very deep stories is what I'm really interested in.
I like that, and you can tell that there's thought put into this particular film and that you really just sort of know what you're doing. And I gotta say, when I was watching this and I was experiencing it, I guess, because you don't really watch documentaries like these. You sort of go through the experiences with the
Mhm.
people in them. I the whole time I was rooting for your protagonist, and at a certain point I gave up
Mm, mhm.
because it was just so much. And then the third act comes in and you're like, okay, this is why I should have maintained my faith in this character, because it's a human story. There is perhaps a redemption there, maybe. Who
Mhm.
knows, was that something that you thought about, was the framing, or did that just come naturally with the story being told in real time?
It was kind of natural based on like the way the story was kind of unfolding. I mean, personally for me, because to me, when I was filming it, I didn't know where it was going to go. So I was constantly asking kind of those same questions of like, you know, um, feeling kind of a lot of despair in filming, being worried that like where is Jacinta's life going to go? Like what is going to happen here? Um, and I think it was just, it's very true to life, as far as putting someone's like, that was like a 9-month journey on the outside into like what 45 minutes of that part of the journey. And so I think it was pretty true as far as what you felt in that moment, that's kind of what, you know, family members felt. Family members feel, I definitely felt, it's I think I'm glad you felt like that actually, because that's very true to how I think one would feel. And I
Speaking
think how Jacinta felt too, actually.
Yeah, I'd agree. Speaking of feelings, there's a revelation made in the second act regarding Jacinta growing
Mhm.
up that I could tell you shooting it had a reaction. What was your reaction when that particular revelation was made when she was about 10 years old?
Yeah, that was that. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, I was completely surprised. And I also, it really, everything kind of made sense, like so many pieces came together for me and trying to understand like Jacinta and how she ended up where she was. And I had spent like, you see a certain amount of the in-depthness to the story and what you see, but I spent like months interviewing old teachers, like family members, trying to figure out her timeline for me to kind of wrap my mind around like what had happened in her life to this point. And so when that came up, I was like, oh my God. I don't know. I could understand her in a different, I in the same way I'm sure you could. Like there was just this kind of understanding that a lot of things made sense. Um, but yeah, I was very surprised.
Yeah,
But I
it
guess
did.
not at the same time. I don't know.
It did feel like the final piece of the puzzle that was the uh, shit sandwich that created this situation was put into place. I'm going to ask you a
Mhm.
fun question. It's probably the hardest question I'm going to ask you all day today, though. So we always like to ask our
Sure,
guests
sure.
if there's two movies that you could watch forever, and those are the only two movies you could pick, what would they be and why?
Oh God, that's a hard question. Um, Two movies I could watch, and I could only watch them for.
Yep, just those
Um,
two, nothing else.
Okay. Um, well, I find myself every year watching. So I don't know if this is a movie I've seen a lot of times, and it's probably like maybe the wrong answer for, because I actually watch a lot of docs, but I do love the movie Moonstruck with
Oh,
Cher.
good
um,
choice. Good choice. I like that one.
and then another one, let me think. I Well, I don't know because I've only watched it once, but I recently watched The Sound of Metal, which I thought was amazing.
Oh,
But I don't know if I would, watch it every single day for the rest of my life. But it was incredible. I just thought that movie was incredible, and that's been sticking out in my mind lately.
have you been looking at our top 10 films of last year? Because you just nailed our number one right on the head. That movie's incredible.
Oh,
Great
really?
choice. Great choice. I love The Sound of Metal.
Okay.
Yes. So it's obvious you're a woman of taste, Jessica.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Great picks there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of tell everybody that they need to check out your movie. It does come out October 8th on Hulu. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. And I think everyone has Hulu. So go watch the darn movie. It's a great documentary. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before I let you go?
Um, no, please just, I would love people to watch it and share it with your friends. And yeah, just thanks for listening.
Everybody, this has been Jessica Earnshaw, the fantastic director of a great doc called Jacinta. Check it out when it comes out October 8th on Hulu, guys. Thank you guys for your time, Jacinta. Thank you so much.